The Diocese of Joliet. The story of the faith began here with a visit from the intrepid missionary priest Jacques Marquette. Was sustained and nurtured by faithful priests like Father Joseph Plunkett, and carries on today through the devotion and commitment of priests, religious, and lay people. This is the story of the Catholic Dioceses of America, the story of their past and the story of today, the local expression of the universal church. It's also the story of each diocese's mother church, the cathedral. This is The Chair, an exploration of what it means to be a disciple in America. "30 miles southwest of Chicago, situated on the banks of the Des Plaines River, is the city of Joliet, Illinois, sea city of the Diocese of Joliet.
The Diocese of Joliet has a long and rich history. In 1673, Louis Joliet, a French explorer, along with the missionary priest Father Jacques Marquette, camped not too far from present-day Joliet. Joliet and Marquette were the first Europeans to explore and map the Mississippi River, and their legacy can be seen today throughout the Midwest. In 1808, the area that is now known as Joliet was governed by the Diocese of Bardstown, present-day Archdiocese of Louisville in Kentucky. In 1824, administration of the area was transferred to the Archdiocese of St. Louis in Missouri.
Following the Black Hawk War in 1833, a man by the name of Charles Reed builds a cabin on the west side of the river, and eventually a village begins to grow. A year later, a man by the name of Joseph Campbell starts to plan out this village and names it Juliet after his daughter. A little while later, the townspeople decide they don't like the name, and they change it back to Joliet after the first explorer.
With the construction of the Illinois and Michigan Canal, a transportation route that connected the waters of the Illinois River with Lake Michigan, thousands of Irish immigrants swarmed into the area. Father John Plunkett had been assigned to the area since 1836 to provide for the spiritual needs of the newly arrived Catholic immigrants. He established St. Patrick's Church, Joliet's oldest church, which still functions to this day. Now, Plunkett was born in Dublin, but like so many Irish missionary priests of the time, he left home at an early age to spread the gospel. Plunkett's ability to mediate disputes between the rival Irish gangs prompted the people of Joliet to nickname this devoted priest Supreme Court Plunkett.
In addition to the Irish missionaries serving the needs of the immigrant communities, we also find the need for schools to be built and hospitals and even orphanages. Many religious communities start to come to the area of Joliet prior to it being a diocese.
This includes several prominent religious communities, like the Franciscans and the Christian Brothers, but also a number of smaller religious communities, like the Viatorian Fathers and the Sisters of St. Agnes. And in fact, the Diocese of Joliet has been home to a number of seminaries and novitiates established by religious orders, including the Claretians and Maryknoll. The diocese offered abundant land and a secluded environment at a time when it was believed that religious formation required a retreat from the world. The diocese is also home to St. Procopius Abbey. The Benedictine community was founded in Chicago at St. Procopius Parish to serve the Czech and Slovak population there. In 1901, they moved to suburban Lisle, where they established several important educational ministries, including the establishment of St. Procopius College, which later grew into today's Benedictine University.
The Sisters of St. Francis of Mary Immaculate, known as the Joliet Franciscans, were founded in 1865. One of their founders was Mother Alfred Mose. The sisters taught school, cared for orphans, and took care of children from many different ethnic backgrounds. One of the interesting pieces of information about this congregation is that they learned the language of the children that they taught. And so, for instance, they founded the first Slovak Catholic school. Mother Mose was actually instrumental in founding 5 congregations of Franciscan sisters, and today those sisters affectionately refer to themselves as Al's Gals.
The Diocese of Joliet was established in 1948 in response to this tremendous growth of the church in the counties surrounding Chicago. Its history reflects post-World War II growth, the baby boom, and the suburbanization, and the movement of Catholics from the urban working class into the suburban mainstream. In the first 7 years of the diocese history, the Catholic population grows 33%, from 90,000 to 122,000. Bishop Martin McNamara was the first bishop of the diocese, and he served his people from 1948 until 1966. He's followed by Bishop Romeo Blanchette, who served until 1979, when he was succeeded by a man who would become the diocese's longest-serving bishop.
Bishop Joseph Imish, a native of Detroit, served the diocese from 1979 to 2006. During his time, the Catholic population grew to 650,000, and he worked to establish 14 new parishes and oversaw the expansion of many more. A sizable part of that growth was a growing Hispanic presence in the diocese, and so he worked also to expand Hispanic ministry. At the national level, he served as chair of the U.S. Bishops' Committee on Women in the Church and Society, and he oversaw the bishops' 9-year-long effort to draft a pastoral letter on the concerns of women. The pastoral letter was never promulgated, though, because of disputes among the bishops themselves, as well as tensions between the U.S. bishops and the Vatican. To his credit, Bishop Imish led the process with great grace and with a great deal of consultation to make sure that all voices were heard.
The 2 most recent bishops were Peter Sarton, who eventually became the Archbishop of Seattle, and Daniel Conlon, who served as bishop until 2020. Through the years, the mother church and center of liturgical prayer for the diocese has been the Cathedral of St. Raymond Nonnatus.
The cathedral in Joliet, Illinois is named after Raymond Nonnatus, a 13th century Spanish saint. He actually had the Blessed Mother appear to him twice when he was younger, and she helped him through struggles with chastity and encouraged him to join the newly founded Mercedarian order. Now, Mercedarians take a 4th vow that says that they will offer themselves in the place of Catholic captives or slaves. Raymond Nonnatus actually got to fulfill this vow. He was imprisoned for 8 months, and he had offered himself in the place of other prisoners. So during his captivity, he was preaching the gospel to the other prisoners and slaves, and his captors were so frustrated by him preaching the gospel that they pierced his lips and put a padlock over his mouth. So in the cathedral, you'll see images of Raymond Nonnatus with a padlock over his mouth. He was later released and went on to live a saintly life. Saint Raymond Nonnatus is called Nonnatus because his mother actually died in childbirth and he was removed via cesarean section. And so his name literally means Nonnatus, not born.
The parish of St. Raymond's was originally founded in 1917 by the Archbishop of Chicago, George Mundelein. The Sisters of St. Francis of Mary Immaculate formed the faculty of the school, which expanded to such an extent that the building had to be enlarged a number of times. When the Diocese of Joliet was formed and the new Cathedral of St. Raymond Nonnatus was built, the old church was incorporated into the school.
The stained glass of the cathedral depicts each line of the Apostles' Creed. This ranges from the creation to the nativity to the descent into hell to the resurrection and ascension of Christ. The baptistry in the cathedral is octagonal, so it's 8-sided. This is typical of baptistries dating back to the very early church. Oftentimes, we'll see a baptistry that's an entire building that's built in the shape of an octagon. We see this, for example, in the baptistry at St. John Lateran in Rome. It's one of the very, very early baptistries. I also am thinking of the baptistry that faces the Duomo in Florence. So all of those are octagonal buildings. So the fact that the font in this cathedral is octagonally shaped is significant. In early Christian times, Sunday was considered the very first day of the week, but it was also called the 8th day. We know in the Old Testament there were 6 days that God created, and on the 7th he rested. Christians referred to this 8th day as the day of the new creation. So the old creation has happened, and Christ has brought us to a level of new creation. It's this inbreaking of eternity into time to bring time to its consummation. And what we see in the sacrament of baptism is that the catechumen puts off the old self and takes on a new life in Christ. So this symbolism of the 8-sided baptistry celebrates the new creation of Christ. Outside of the cathedral, on its grounds, there's a newly added prayer garden dedicated to Saint Mother Teresa, and she's actually sitting on a bench. There's a beautiful statue of her sitting on a bench, kind of welcoming visitors. You could actually go and sit next to her.
The chair in St. Raymond Nonnatus Cathedral symbolizes Ronald Alden Hick's authority as the Apostle of Joliet. Hick was named the new bishop of the diocese in July 17, 2020, and was installed in the cathedral on September 29, 2020. Under his leadership, the legacy of faith, hope, and charity that has so defined the Diocese of Joliet from its earliest days carries on into the future.